but, כמה מילים בעברית. אוקיי? So, אתמול הגיתי בשדה תעופה, נתב"ג, ואני מהר ללמוד מילה חדשה, מטריה. So, that's my Hebrew. I should learn a little bit quicker. תודה רבה. אבל עכשיו מדבר, my talk. Okay, so working in AI, that's how it feels currently. If you ever jump into this stuff, that's really the thing we are in. You do something, and as the meme here also said, 5 minutes, you look away, you look back, and something new popped up. So it's really, really crazy currently what's going on in AI. Some things are nice, some things are not. And I also recently got really trapped into this whole thing. So a couple of weeks ago, I swear on my daughter, I would stand here and say Gemini 3 is the hottest shit. It's the best thing ever. Yeah, and then Cloud Opus 4.5 dropped, and things are completely back on start. So we really see now the spiral going on. I'm not putting money on OpenAI, but you can guess things are evolving as quickly. And this is also, there's really an issue with this. There's really some things we can also apply here for the whole agentic stuff and the revolution we are doing in AI. So we started 2022, 23 here doing some chatbot work. Everybody Chat GPT their own name and laughed about when some funny things come up. And you see how we are evolved. And RAG was the hottest thing. Everybody was keep on ragging stuff, throwing their PDFs into the system and let the LLM reason about this and give feedback. And now we enter a new era where we say, okay, it's the agentic workforce era. And here comes an interesting thing, and Itai also mentioned this, which I really, really like to have a talk later the day, because a lot of people already talked about some topics I always catch up, and they prepared the stage very well. So we can see now that a lot of the experimentation phase is over. So people are not, chatting here with the AI and doing still the silly stuff. They are starting now, and I called it here, hiring it, using it really more in their environment. I think somebody from Wiz here also mentioned a lot of customers have AI systems in place. So there's an issue with this. With the Industrial Revolution and telling, okay, the question is not if you're using AI agent, but the way you're going to organize them. There are also some kind of numbers we can go through. So we see a lot of enterprises, and this is based through some surveys and some facts here for PwC, for example, 79% of enterprises have adopted AI agents, and 33% of enterprises software will be agentic by 2028, and we see 171 project ROI from agentic AI. Okay, but these are some numbers, you can look them up. What does it mean now for us? New roles evolve here, new roles pop up. So we got a new one, the agent orchestrator, we got a new skill and new challenges. And I want to quickly go over this one before heading. So the agent orchestrator says now the most critical hire of 2026, not the person who builds agents, but who makes them work together. So what they do is they design workflows, coordinate multiple AI agents, decide when to use compute versus human review, maintain the global context and all the stuff. This also brings a new bunch of required skills with this person, say task decomposition, system design, so things we already knew in place, resource management, DevOps and AI engineering. And we see also here the increase in job postings. Come on. Why is it not working? Okay. The increase in this specific job offerings and also the benefits of all the stuff. Next new of the ends, the the hybrid team management. So 75% of current roles will need reshaping. This is also a situation where leading teams not only mean now humans, but also agents. We talked about this in the hallway. We said, okay, in the future when people get hired, they also show their tool cases, the stuff they use, different agent setups to solve a problem. So we become all little managers now, and we use a lot of agents to fulfill the different tasks. So what does it mean now? Before, static workforce planning based on human roles, and now we have to adapt and say, okay, how does it go in a dynamic environment where we have then also agents running? And this comes up with some interesting questions here coming from Gartner. They say, okay, what could be possible collaboration scenarios for the future? So human-led, AI-assisted, AI-led, human reviews, AI autonomous, human on-call, and full human control. Of course, sensitive task. And this leads again here to some interesting, interesting questions around. I'm sorry, I don't do it on purpose. Something is wrong with this thing. Okay, and then again, the M-shaped supervisor could be some responsibility, then T-shaped expert and AI coaching. Okay, so let's head over to the last point to say, okay, what is a new challenge now arising from this? Of course, it's the multi-agent orchestration. You see how slowly I'm building up the case now. So we see, and this is also and this is also something a lot of people, maybe on your own experience, you saw this, that you make some AI initiatives and they're not really landing well, they fail. So there's also a statistic around this who say that currently 70 to 85% of AI initiatives fails because they do not meet the expectations, and production multi-agents systems are still hard. And we see the hard problems here are typical stuff: distributed system problems, observability capabilities, non-deterministic behavior. Itai talked a lot about this, and then also governance and compliance. So we come to the key insight that what works well in a controlled environment rarely survives in an enterprise complexity. And this is where my talk is going to head now. We're talking about orchestrating autonomous agents in DevOps, and talking here about 3 specific frameworks. And I want to backtrack now to the slide before where you saw the Interstellar meme. When I submitted the talk, a lot of the things were new and not 100% clear. So currently now, if you would ask me, and I tried to update, I also update one of the frameworks because Deep Agent from LangChain appeared and was much, much better than the one I had on my slide. Yeah, that things evolving really, really quickly for myself. Engin Diri, I'm a senior solution architect at Pulumi, and I have a lot of socials. You can follow me, and yeah, feel free to reach out. So, but here comes the question now. You're like, hey, wait a minute. Why not just use Claude Code? So, that's a legitimate question. So why do we need an agent framework at all? We have a modern AI IDE, which is extremely powerful. And yeah, let me explain to you why your AI IDE is not capable of some of the use cases. So we see they are powerful for the things you are doing, but for example, AI IDEs, they excel here at interactive development. All the stuff you do on your machine, this typical works on my machine stuff, single session task, and so on. Again, a lot of things changed also in this area. So please bear with me that some of the things got superseded with the new stuff announcement. For example, Google anti-gravity and so on, where you can also create a lot of agentic setups there. Okay, so here comes the point. But what about then tasks that run while you are asleep? So that's a good question. Why not using? I'm not using this anymore. That's not good. I'm looking here. So and agents triggered by webhooks, multiple agents coordinating each other, agents that need their own runtime and enterprise governance and all that. Okay, and here is where agent frameworks come into play. So, agent frameworks provide dedicated runtimes that can be triggered by events and not just on your keyboard. And what does it mean, triggered by specific events? So, we have this classical event sources you probably all know. There are a lot of more, of course. So, for example, GitHub, webhooks, PagerDuty, ServiceNow, schedules, cron jobs, cloud events. That could be all stuff which triggers here the events. Is it possible to switch the views here on the presentator stuff? Because that's irritating. It shows me the wrong slide, sorry. Okay. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. Because it makes the actual one small and the next one, yeah, perfect. That's a lot of better. Because, okay. So, different event sources, this is clear. And then you have also some building blocks also into it, so dedicated compute, persistent memory, and isolation and security. Okay, so now we see our DevOps reality as DevOps engineers also like, hey, wait a minute. As a DevOps engineer, I'm already thinking also in pipelines, events, and automation. So looks like that a good chosen agent framework would fit very well into this. So some examples here for things we encounter every day are CI/CD integrations, pipelines here, incident management and incident response, and then also security scanning, just as an example. So why we are not using now our local AI IDEs, why we should use a dedicated framework. So the key insights is here, Cloud Code, for example, doesn't matter which one, you can also choose another framework. It's good for your pair programming, for your activities on this area, and an agentic framework, using an agentic framework for creating different agents is very, very helpful for your autonomous DevOps teams. So the thing is, we are not replacing one. We're not saying this is something which is now not hot anymore, not usable anymore. We just say, okay, we can use both. I still use a lot in my AI IDE, but then for some cases, it makes sense to create a dedicated agent, a dedicated multi-agent framework, multi-agent setup, and use this one. Okay. And yeah, so there are 3 architectures for 3 problems. So again, 3 frameworks, and now giving a category and say, okay, for what we could use which framework. Again, the framework's evolving very quickly. So you see that a lot of work which the people at Strands did at the beginning, Strands is now much, much more powerful than it was at the beginning. So you see things evolve very quickly also here. But generally, I would say, let's come with a problem with the choosing and say, okay, I need a reliable, auditable workflow. Then this is something where you say, hey, Strands Agent would make a lot of sense because they are model-driven and offer now, additionally, it's an evaluation SOP. We talk later about this. And then we have deep agents. As I mentioned, this was something I changed for this presentation here, because it's evolved also from the long chain universum. So you could say, I need long-running complex tasks. Again, also changes in other things. It's not a unique proposition anymore here. But you could say, okay, let's use deep agents for this, because the planning and the sub-agent delegation for the task could be very useful to use this framework. And another one is AutoGen. I need flexible team collaboration. AutoGen had a really nice twist, you will see. And then you have the architecture, this event-driven conversation architecture, which could fit for your problem. So then let's go. And I'm 100% sure that... Oh, my video is running. Okay, that's cool. I don't know if you know this guy. He's... okay, let's go. So, Strands Agents. So the empowering manager. I really, really love this one. Sorry. Okay, so I added here not vanilla Strands SDK. I already added here the agent SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedure, because it gives the whole agent a lot of new capability. They coined it on their own, deterministic. So you give enough structure for the agent for consistency, but still have the flexibility for the intelligence. If you're using the Strands SDK, the vanilla one, with this additional add-on, and that gives a lot of power here. So come on. Okay, so what is Agent Sub? So it's a natural language workflows in Markdown. Here comes the thing. We can now Markdown, which uses now a standard here of the RFC 2119, where you have to use this kind of words like must, should, and may. That's really, really interesting. So we can create a Markdown. I have it in a demo also to see. And then you have structured step, parameterization, and resumable. And code-wise, as you can see, that's a little example how it looks like in your Markdown explaining, and then you can go through the steps. So that's a very, very cool approach. Another cool thing is here that I can chain them together. So you have a standard operating procedure chaining. You can define different agents with different sub, put them together, have some kind of artifact handovers, and that's very, very cool. What Strands offers also, thank you. Okay, that's much better. Okay, that's an upgrade. Cool. Artifact handover, and yeah. So, next point, the team structures which Strands brings built in. I'm not going too deep into code because everybody can check up code and so on. That's not the interesting part and so on. So, what kind of team structures we have? So we have the first one, agent as tool. You know, defining a real agent and then use it as a tool in another agent. That's really cool. For example, we at Pulumi, we have Neo on our agent, and we have an MCP, and inside the MCP there is a call to Neo. So that's really cool. So while you're in your IDE, you call it, and this is a really, really good pattern. And then you can give the agent a different subset of tools and whatever, but the person who's calling or the other agents who is calling this stuff doesn't need to waste some context, some tokens, precious tokens on this one. Then we have the swarm, where we have a shared memory collaboration and creating a mesh and hierarchical topologies, and then you can define your different agents. Inside this one, we have graphs, classical one, creating a duck and then having the flow inside, that's cool. And then also here, workflows, task dependencies, and priority levels. So this is Strands, some of the uniqueness of Strands. Deep agents from LangChain here called as the strategic planner, has some philosophy going on, so small atomic tools, extensive prompting, so has a lot of, you will see the little tools and the architecture stack. Deep agents is built on LangChain, so we have here some reusage of the LangChain ecosystem, and code-wise, this looks like this, creating here your sub-agent and then attaching them with the agent having then also access to tools. Here are the built-in tools from deep agents, planning tools, file system tools, shell tool, and so on. They are pluggable, and you have an deep agent CLI. But here comes now an interesting thing with deep agents around the tool usage. They borrowed the concept of skills from Cloud Code also. So here having our progressive disclosure is very helpful because we're not loading all the tools up and reuse some of our tokens from our context window just for the tools. It just discovers it, similar to the latest release. Here we come back again. I swear last year I would bet everything on MCPs and really evangelized around this and so on. And then we see now with the progressive disclosure from Anthropic that this is much, much better in most cases. I mean, there are still cases to use this, but okay. So I just mentioned this, the token usage, and here the cognitive loading. And how does it look like in the deep agents code? That's here. You have then the skill defined in your markdown and let your agent know, hey, this is the skill definition. I think last week AWS released Kiro powers, which goes also in the way of skills. So it looks like that 2026 will be a lot of around skills and maybe less around MCP as a first situation. Okay, AutoGen is the last one. So it's a team facilitator. It's one of the oldest ones, so it's a long time around if we speak here in AI years. And how does this work? It has some kind of philosophy. AutoGen really follows the structure of agents talking to each other. That's the philosophy behind this, you know. And then you have here some of the key strengths of AutoGen is the flexibility, the scalability, in the way the research tools are working. Human in the loop is very important. And one point to mention is when you create in AutoGen an agent, you can choose between Python and .NET, because Python is somehow the default language for all the agent work, but here you have also the option for .NET, so you can clearly see the Microsoft heritage of it, and some people really appreciate this. And we see here with version 0.4 some of the supported team structures. So it has a round-robin group chat, so fixed turn orders like, hey, I have a task, now you are, and so on. And then you have the selector group chat picked on the speaker. We have also a swarm here where you can hand off the task and let the people work on it, or the agents work on it, and then having, again, some kind of edge case here with the flows. So that's one thing. Interesting to mention also with AutoGen is they have also a native tool, UI tool, so you can create low-code, no-code agents and build them together, so you don't need to use anything like Flowwise AI and so on. So that's quite handy. Okay, so that's what I mentioned. So creating models, skills, and agents in your UI and define your workflow there. And this is how it looks like. Okay, how long do we have? 2 minutes? Okay, so getting up to the end with 2 minutes, we have the DevOps use case CI/CD pipeline in Strands, and hope it works. Do I need to click? So this is how it looks like if you create a CI/CD pipeline use case in Strands. So we see the SOPs, and let's scroll down, and then you see the code part. Same use case in Deep Agents. Again, creating here the prompt, and then we see when we scroll down also the code base, so a little bit here, then calling and stitching all the things together. Last but not least, AutoGen. Same use case here, having your system prompt, and then also the code which stitches things together. And here what I wanted to say, the code itself, they may be quite similar, but it's the philosophy and the thing you would like to solve. And now we come to the end to say, okay, Engin, which framework fits your team? What should I choose? So this comes now, but please, that's my opinion. Choose Strands when you already in the AWS ecosystem. They have with Bedrock Agent Core very, very strong runtime. I would say currently one of the best runtimes to run any AI. It doesn't need to be Strand. You can run anything. Choose Deep Agent if you are looking forward for this like code experience with the skills, long-running tasks. The skills, as I said, is very, very cool. Or you're already in the Langchain ecosystem. Choose AutoGen when you like the fact that the agent's debating. This is the first class way to solve the problem. You're in the .NET ecosystem. You don't want to learn Python, for example. And you maybe prefer no-code prototyping, and then you can use Studio. And yeah, that's again some points here, and I made a cringe note here. Today's choice is developer experience, not login. So choose on your needs. I'm very brutal and honest with this. I'm not very loyal, brand loyal when it comes currently to AI stuff. I check the stuff which solves a problem. So I would not say, hey, use X because you're already in the Microsoft ecosystem, just take another tool. And I have the feeling with all the stuff going on that a lot of people, a lot of companies are opting for Strands, but we will see. I can't prove this. And some action items for you to try out to get the most out of it. Pick one of the frameworks you saw here. Build a simple 2-agent DevOps task. Try it, measure, and see and share with your team, and yeah, just start building. And with this said, thank you, and wish you still a nice DevOps day. Bye.